Right, so as requested, a quick video on sword care and maintenance. So the first one is your training swords. This is all about training swords, not sharps. Your training swords, they will get battered, they will get bruised, they will get burrs, dints. Because you're using it a lot, it will go rusty unless you're oiling it constantly. So that's the first thing. Try and make sure whenever you use it, whenever you've been training with it, if you want to keep the rust off it, oil it. I just use WD-40 on the club swords because it's cheap, you can get lots of it. You can also use an oil that is a specific gun oil called ballistol. It's a bit more expensive, but it is a bit of a better oil. If you're using it on your own sword or your sharp swords, you could use that. Just a cloth, spray some on, give it a wipe down. Make sure you're wiping down everything that's metal. So crossguard, pommel, blade, give it all a good wipe. Basically, fingerprints, oil in your fingers, just touching the blade is going to transfer oil onto it. So even if you're not that sweaty, it's going to do it. After training, obviously, if your hands are sweaty, that's going to make it even worse, okay? So yeah, just give it a quick spray, just a quick wipe. It doesn't need to be anything, you know, you don't need to go to town on it. You're not actually polishing it. So that's just to try and prevent the rust building up on it. When it comes to burrs and things, so the edge of your sword, it's going to get battered, it's going to get burrs. Your crossguard as well is sometimes going to get burrs if you're doing particular things. So the best thing for that is buy a file, B&Q, doesn't have to be anything special, and run it down the edge of the sword. So you're just trying to take any sort of loose or bits of metal that's sticking up. You should be able to, ideally, run your hand down it with a reasonably tight grip and not cut yourself, okay? Because obviously we're doing blade grabs, we're doing half swording and things like that in class. So you need to be able to do it, your partner needs to be able to do it. If it's getting on your crossguard, same thing, just give it a file off. Make sure any bits that are sticking up are off it. If it's particularly bad, it can take a while, that. It can, you know, you need to do it basically on all four edges. You can draw file it like that, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's big bits, you might want to file that way. I'd suggest using files over anything that's electric, like belt sanders or angle grinders or grinders, just because that's going to take the metal off a lot slower. If you know what you're doing with a belt sander or an angle grinder, yeah, you can do it with that, but one slip, one mistake, and you're taking a big chunk out of your sword. So if you're confident with electric tools and stuff, yeah, nothing wrong with that. If you're not, I'd stick with a file. Just a bird out. Okay, and then same thing, once you've done that, just give it an oil, give it a wipe down. If you find it does start getting rusty, which is a training tool, it probably will do, there's a few ways of getting that off. I prefer using either wire wool, just get the most of it off, or sanding blocks. So these particular ones are in different grits. I've had these years, so they're a bit battered. But basically it's just an abrasive, and it'll sand off any surface rust, yeah. You can get different grits, like I say, coarse, medium, fine, or there are sanding blocks that you can get from places like B&Q and stuff like that. That's what I prefer to use. Alternatively, you can get emery paper or wet and dry paper, which is like sandpaper for metal, basically. You don't want actual sandpaper. Emery paper is better. It's grey in colour. I've left it upstairs. But again, it comes in different grits and different grades. Basically, the lower the number, the more coarse it is, the higher the number, the finer polish or finer finish you're going to get on it. If you are looking to polish something, then emery paper is the way to go, but you shouldn't really be polishing your training sword anyway, it's going to get battered. But if you did want to polish it, emery paper, and then finish it off with a polishing paste called Ortisol. It's maybe a company called Solvo, I think. It's a Solvo Ortisol. You can get it on eBay, get it in Halfords, places like that. Comes in like a toothpaste tube. Squeeze a bit on, spread a layer out, leave it for a bit, and then polish it off. And that's one way of doing it by hand, or if you've got a polishing motor at home, you know how to do it if you've got your own polishing motor. And that is basically it. So it's not that complicated, and remember, it is a training tool, so its purpose isn't to look pristine, okay? But try and keep as much rust off it as you can, because obviously tetanus and things like that. Try and keep the burrs off it. Oh, the other thing, if it starts getting rattly, so this is a training one, the pommel's just getting a little bit rattly, so the peen on the end of it, get a ball peen hammer. Find a nice solid surface, either in a block of wood or mount it in a vise or something like that. Peen it, okay? If it's really bad, you may need to get a blowtorch on it and heat it up and then hot peen it, but it's up to you. It's up to you how bothered you are. This one, I'll probably try it cold. If it doesn't do it enough, then yeah, I'll heat it up, okay? Most swords are constructed that way, where the pommel's peened on the end and the peen is the thing that keeps it all tight. It all moves, it's all going to change as it's getting used a little bit. Okay, I think that's about it. Sharp swords, different kettle of fish, because obviously you're wanting to maintain the edge and you're trying not to get it rusty at all, because the finish is normally better. But for training swords, I think that's pretty much it. Grip change, if the grip gets battered, it's up to you how you do that. You can either just wrap it with new leather like that. You can buy leather from various different places. Some people wrap it with grip tape or sort of tennis rackety type stuff. Again, there's no point having a super nice grip on your training sword. It's going to get battered, it's going to get hit, and it's going to wear out. You can cord wrap it with glue. There's lots of different ways. Internet, Google is your friend for that, okay? Right, that's basically it.